Recording. Hello, I'm super excited to have Marisa Tschopp today with me. She's a researcher, women in AI ambassador for Switzerland, TEDx. She recently just did her first TEDx talk, and she's a DrivenWoman member in Zurich area. Warm welcome, Marisa.
Thank you, Miisa. Happy to be here.
I'd like to have a quick chat about your journey because it's super inspiring and I think very motivating for lots of our women in our community. A lot has happened in the past 18 months since you joined the community, and now just last week you were a speaker at TEDx Switzerland, Rise of Humans, and we talk about that a little bit later. But let's start with, where were you 18 months ago?
Yeah, where was I? I basically just gave birth to my second child. And this is where things just started to shift. I haven't expected that. So at that point, I decided not to go back to work because I could just see my two kids and I'm not going back to work for a job, which is okay. I had a good job, but it was just only okay. And I didn't want to leave my kids behind for an okay job. And this is where I thought I have to change this.
And what did you do? What was the decision or action you took at that point?
Well, I think the first thing was just to clear everything out and get my space and my head free from everything that distracts me, and making time and taking some important decisions to really focus on what I want in my life. And that was basically what I did. So I was sitting in front of an empty table, an empty sheet of paper, and trying to brainstorm what I want to do with my life and my family.
And that's when you joined the local life working group with DrivenWoman.
Yes.
And
yes.
I know that some big shifts happened since. So would you talk us through what happened next after you joined?
Yes, I could instantly feel actually a shift in mindset when I went to the introduction meeting. It took a few weeks until I really decided to actually go for it, just because I was a little reluctant, and you never know, do these things work, and is it worth the effort and the money and stuff. But the moment I had my first session, I knew, okay, this is it. This is exactly what I need to give myself some structure, which I need, especially now with family. And well, I would say the most important shift in my mindset happened with one of the exercises, which is still in my head after 2 years, which is, instead of focusing on my goals or setting, big vision boards and setting these goals, which are smart and time specific and whatsoever, we had that exercise where we had to frame our values or goals in questions. So instead of saying, I want a happy family, and I would ask, how can I create a family life which is peaceful, meaningful, etc. Or I ask questions such as, how can I combine work and family? How can I create a job which is meaningful, joyful, and it doesn't cost me too much, but still lets me grow, etc. So framing my goals and questions and setting this intention was a huge game changer, actually.
And then after that, you started figuring out steps, I believe.
Yeah, well, I went through the normal process of, searching for jobs on the internet, etc. And I applied for various positions because they're actually with a reason, even if I knew this is maybe not 100% fit. But I have made this a kind of a practice game. So basically with every interview I got to, I used my DrivenWoman binder to journal before and after the interview. So I wrote down my strengths, what I can do, like tasks, like I can do research, but also what are my strengths in terms of my psychological strengths like motivation or commitment or whatsoever. So I wrote all these things down, and also after the interviews, even if I didn't get the job or didn't want it, I really reflected on, okay, what went well, what didn't go well. And after a few interviews, I was getting more and more clear on what do I want to do as a job for a living. What kind of job do I need to grow, to have fun, and how can I combine this with my family life? And so basically I use this as an opportunity practice, and yeah, that's basically what I did.
Was there anything, so you were getting clear what you want, was there anything where you said, now I know what I don't want?
Yeah.
Oftentimes that's equally important.
For some reason, I always end up in marketing or event management, probably because I'm so new. But I really wrote down that I just don't want to do this. I don't want to organize things. I want to focus on research. I want to focus on content rather than on organizational topics, for example.
Yeah, it's a very key point you just mentioned there, that often I end up in things because people think I'm such. And it happens to women a lot because we want to, please everybody, and we want to do the good job. So we end up taking things that we don't necessarily want deep down inside. So that must have been a big shift. And tell us about the job you ended up getting then after this, getting clear with what you want and very clear with your strengths as well. What happened next?
Yeah, I don't know if this was just a lucky punch, but I saw this one ad and for a job here in this company for being a researcher in a cybersecurity company. And I'm like, okay, but there was no specific task, no specific project. So it was really open. I'm like, what is this? And for some reason, I was super fascinated about this. And so I called them up and asked them what they expect. And they're like, oh, well, yeah, what do you like doing? So I'm basically, long story short, I looked back at my binder, looked at the things I want to do, looked at the things I can do, and I wrote one pager of what I want to do in this company, what I can bring in, what my strengths are, what I can do further than that. And apparently they liked it. So I told them that I really want to do research and AI and combine it with psychology, which are just some things I'm super passionate about. And they were excited about that. And I think they liked my drive and me taking the initiative to actually, propose the ideas. And I got the job, and it's been just one smooth and exciting journey since then.
Share a little bit about the balance or having time with your family as well. Did that happen as well?
Yes. So this was hugely important to me. So family is my first priority. It has always been and will always be. And I've never thought that. I always thought, I would have been happy without kids. I mean, don't get me wrong, but I love my kids. But having kids really changed my perspective a lot. And I only work, and people are always how to say, I'm like, what? I only work 40%, which is only 2 days. But in these 40%, I give it all, like all. And I also, I also work the other days, like in the evening sometimes, which I don't have to, but I just wanted to because I really like what I'm doing, or read a lot of things. So, but to me, I really needed a company that fully respects that my family, I have specific family needs where I have to bring my kids, get my kid, and that I always want more time with my kids than with my job. That's my number one rule. And it works, and they support it. I think this is hugely important, that I would never work for somebody who would not respect my needs. And this allows me to fully commit and thrive in this job because I know they respect me the way I am, and I know they count on me, and they believe that I can do it. And so I could totally find a balance. which I was longing for, having that meaningful, fun job and having enough time for my kids, lots of time actually. Yeah.
So a lot of women watching this, they will go, yeah, she's just lucky. She just found this like one company that does things like that. What would you tell them, thinking back how you felt when you had your second child? Did you think that would have been possible? And what made it possible? Because a lot of women, they think it's not possible, it's not out there. But I can see it all the time. It is out there if you go after it.
Yeah, I think.
Is there any insight you could share?
Well, yeah, I think you have to take time to research. Like I would not even consider going to a company that does not, where I have to be there at 8 and have to leave at 5. Like I would not even I would not take up with any things that do not fit with my system. So, and it involves time, like and research. Like you have to think about it. So half a year I was simply researching companies. I was actually looking at companies. So my company, for example, they were advertising in a portal which was called Jobs for Moms. So in that portal was, and so that I knew, so that gave me a real good clue that, okay, they fully respect my specific family needs. And the other thing is, you have to communicate it, of course, with respect. I mean, you have to say, okay, listen, I can only work until 4, but until then, I'm gonna do 150%. So I think it's a lot about how you communicate it. Both. You have to be super clear, direct, and respectfully, but direct. Tell what you need, what you want, and it takes time, and it takes a little bit of courage.
But that you practiced at the Durham One Group for a while, so it's not like this happened immedately. You had a little bit of practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Since I don't have lots of moms in my community, my friends, I was super happy to share these insights with people, because in the Durham One there are many mothers and they share their experiences. So that was really helpful, actually. But it's absolutely possible.
To kind of what happened next. You also then became Women in AI ambassador for Switzerland. Mm-hmm. So a lot of things started happening from that job. Can you share a little bit of insight about that?
Yeah, it actually happened really fast, and I haven't really had the chance to grasp this all. But I think what hit me most is the power of community. So especially it's this, no matter which network it is, if it's Women AI or DrivenWoman, what I've never experienced before is that power of community, and how important and uplifting it can be to have people support you, to have a network of like-minded people. And with this Women in AI thing, I think people started to see me a bit in a different light. So I was not only the researcher here in my back office anymore, I was making myself visible. People saw me. I was good, which also incorporates some kind of vulnerability, which you have to, you always, if you're out there, people will see you. And it's a great opportunity to find people with shared values. I think this has changed the most, and people can see this, and people can see that you're not only there for, I don't know, making tons of money and want to sell stuff, that you're there for a reason, to create an impact and maybe be a role model for other women, especially in the tech scene, who are scared to step up or are scared in such a man-dominated field.
Thank you. Sometimes people think that when you reach your first goal, that's kind of job done. Can you talk about a little bit? Of course, we want to hear about the TEDx Talk, how that came about, what you learned. And I believe, you are one of those women who is always going to honor their drive. Talk us through that.
What was, can you okay, sorry, I didn't understand the question.
So let's talk about the TEDx Talk.
Yeah.
How did that came about? And tell us about the experience.
Okay. Okay, so I've all my life I've been a big fan of TED and the TED format, and I have to step a bit back actually, because I've been remembering now something. At one point in one of our meetings, in one of our DrivenWoman meetings some time ago, it was about speaking out loud your dreams, and I've been very, very inspired by, actually, I think it was you, Miisa, who was speaking out loud a very bold vision of her life. And I was so like, wow, okay, I'll do that too. I'll just give it a try. So basically that day I wrote down my vision for 2030. And one of the sentences was, I want to give a TED Talk. And the next meeting, I actually took this vision with me and I read it out to my DrivenWoman members. And I was nervous as hell. That was, I don't know, more than half a year ago. Anyways, so having this in the back of my head that I have talked about it for the first time some time ago. It was 6 weeks ago when somebody approached me on LinkedIn that he would be very honored to have me on the TEDx Talk, The Rise of the Humans. And first of all, I thought it was some kind of security joke. So I thought, I couldn't believe it, to be honest. I thought, okay, this guy just wants my data or my email or whatsoever. So I really did some research, like, okay, who is this person? And then I'm like, oh my God, okay, this person has lots of friends. And anyways, at one point it was true. I was super nervous. I shake from head to toe. And and this is basically how it started. So, and I think he invited me because I'm really active on, LinkedIn and all these social media platforms to give myself some visibility. And I think you could really tell that I'm passionate and passionate about what I do. And I think this is kind of also why he invited me. And yeah, basically then 6 weeks of hardcore preparation. Okay, then the work-life balance shifted a little bit.
That's okay for a short period.
So it was also good for me to know that this is the absolute limit. So there was nothing else could fit in there other than this. Also good experience. And it was an amazing experience of not only preparing content-wise. Of course, I wanted to have good, original, impactful content, but I also practiced a lot about online public speaking skills with my brother, who's a film director. So yeah, I was filming myself, and he gave me feedback. So I learned a lot about my own presence, about my gastrics and mimics and so. I prepared also with a mental coach, Hazel Gale, who actually really helped me to identify the core intention of my talk. So of course it's about AI, of course it's about technology, of course it's about the impact on humanity, but the core intention of my talk and actually of my life is giving other people the courage to believe that even the smallest can change the world. And for some reason I knew this, but I just internalized this through my talk. So what I always keep saying is that I think everybody should have the chance to give a TED Talk, because it makes you think about why you do the things you do, and basically about the meaning of life.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience, all in all, and I'm very happy with my performance and everything. I mean, I was nervous, yes, but it was really, really awesome.
Fantastic. So you mentioned about the underlying meaning of life. So is that something that drives you now? How is that? Has your deeper question evolved with all of this? So I'd like a little bit of sort of going forward. You've reached your goal. You've got much more than you bargained for initially. So what is your sort of guiding vision for yourself as you move forward in life?
Yeah. So basically, what I do now is going back to these questions. Every time I do something, or I don't know, get a request from something, I ask myself, does this serve my needs of joy, growth, meaning, etc., family? And so this is the question I always ask myself. And the thing is, you cannot ask yourself these questions if you don't know what your highest values are, like. And so I think I'm very more effective in terms of making decisions, because now I know way better what is important to me.
And to sum it up, how has DrivenWoman played a role in all of that?
Yeah, defining these values, methods on how to get there. For me, as I'm very often lost, I need a structure. I say that all the time because it's so important to me. But all in all, my whole level of awareness changed, because every 4 weeks I ask myself, am I still on track? Am I still doing things that serve my needs for growth, for meaning, fun, whatever it is? I think these are the most important things to me. That's why I keep repeating them. And this changes your perspective. You don't get lost in still, of course, I get lost in everyday things, but I keep getting back on track, and I'm making much wiser decisions, and I'm talking to people differently, and I can feel different connections to the people who talk to me, who want to talk to me, or in giving interviews or whatsoever. I'm saying different things now.
So somebody who is maybe feeling stuck and overwhelmed and not quite sure, something has shifted, something is changing, and they are not quite sure how to solve this, like you were 18 months, 24 months ago. What is your top advice how to start moving forward?
Step back, clear everything out, step back. And I think this is the first and most important step. Not, even if you have kids especially, or whatever, or if you have lots of work, take a break, go on vacation, or so, like having the opportunity to clear your mind and start from this empty sheet of paper. I think this is the most important first step. I couldn't do this, start from a very positive and clear and open mindset. I think that's the most important first step. And I'll have to think about it, actually. Yeah, I'd move from, this is the first step, is an individual step, making this individual decision. And then move to the next level, the team approach, or however you may call it. Look for people, surround yourself with people who share your mindset. The next level would be find an organization, find a bigger network, neighborhood, your country, whatever it is, that also is in your system, in your mind, in your mindset. So I would move through this systemic approach, the levels of systemic approach, which is the individual, your close group, the macro environment, biggest group, the neighborhood, the culture, the nation you're living in. And then you look at the time frame, you look from your past to your future. So I think I always look at that systemic approach, but the starting point is the individual.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to make that decision within yourself. Yeah. Nobody else can do it for you.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Marisa. It's been a pleasure, as always, talking to you.
Thank you, Miisa. Thank you for everything. Wouldn't be here without you and my lovely Fiona and the other people who are in my group, of course. Yeah, I was practicing, by the way, the 2 days before the talk. I gave my first practice talk to my DrivenWoman members.
Fantastic. But this is, we all change each other's lives. We're all change makers, whether we want it or not. And that's why it's so important to come together share these journeys and to help each other. So I'm very privileged to have you in our network, and I know you'll drive and go from strength to strength, and I can't wait what the next adventure will bring. Thank you, Marisa.
Thank you, Miisa.